What's in a controversy, really? I mean, you're probably thinking straight away about episodes like The City on the Edge of Forever, and Plato's Stepchildren, and of course, that episode. Which yes, we are going to discuss, but it's not the only one we're going to talk about in this list. We've done several lists like this before, and we invite you to check them out, because even in controversy, there is a fascinating history. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are the 10 most controversial Star Trek episodes. Number 10. Strange New Worlds. Captain, Commodore, Admiral, and Ambassador at Large Robert April was the original captain of the USS Enterprise, née Yorktown. Gene Roddenberry's pitch for Star Trek saw the ship led by April, though this was updated to Christopher Pike when NBC picked up the pilot. Adrian Holmes was cast in the role for Strange New Worlds, which quickly saw some of the more racist Trek fans raise their heads over the parapets. April had been seen before in the animated series episode The Counterclock Incident, where he had been portrayed as a white man. James Doohan performed the role. While there were those who took to social media to decry the casting of Holmes, the writer of that original episode, Fred Bronson, warmly welcomed Adrian to the fold and expressed excitement at seeing his portrayal of April, who has now appeared in several episodes of Strange New Worlds and will hopefully return for the show's third season as well. Number 9. Angel 1. Angel 1 was embroiled in a sexism stain from its earliest days, even though the original idea for the story was meant to highlight the issue of apartheid in South Africa. The idea of a matriarchal society had been covered numerous times in literature at that point, so Wright recalled that he wanted to avoid anything like an Amazonian sex type of world. Roddenberry, Wright stated, was adamant that the script feature as much sex as possible, further distancing the show from its original pitch. Where the women were designed to represent the perpetrators of apartheid, with the men serving as the blacks of South Africa, this was lost somewhat in the telling. Riker's role in the story serves as both a role reversal, forcing the man to wear revealing clothes leading to inappropriate comments, and an extension, as Will Wheaton put it, of Kirk from the original series. Riker, of course, delivers a speech that encourages Beata to stay the execution of the men. The episode, as shown, ends up being a statement that a female-led society quickens into barbarism, with only Riker successfully convincing the women to see reason. While the grain of a good idea was planted, what sprang from the ground was a mess. Number 8. Despite Yourself. Aaron Harbitz, when speaking about the death of Hugh Culber in this episode of Star Trek Discovery, surmised that audiences who likened the scene to the Hollywood trope of burying your gaze didn't understand him as a writer. That said, he, Wilson Cruz, and Gretchen T. Berg all felt inclined to emphatically state that Culber's death was not his ending. The episode, from the show's first season, garnered immediate backlash from fans of the character and LGBTQIA+ audiences, despite the writers consulting with GLAAD in advance. Having one half of the franchise's first openly gay couple killed in so brutal a fashion was a shock, though it was also a disappointing one. The assertion that Culber would return, ironically, did the episode a further disservice. Killing Culber on screen, then stating so clearly on social media that he would return, gave a very mixed message. Was he dead or wasn't he? This was Star Trek after all, so what did death really mean? Unless your name is Dax. Despite Yourself suffers from leaning into a Hollywood trope, understanding that it will absolutely be seen as a part of said trope, and then backpedaling hard to show that they're not part of it, thus gutting the drama involved. The resulting muddled presentation lacks a true emotional hit, one which arguably doesn't truly find its feet until the following year. Number 7. Hide and Seek. The term fridging was coined after the release of Green Lantern Volume 3, number 54. In that issue, New Lantern Kyle Rayner returns home to find his girlfriend killed and her body has been stuffed into the fridge. Fridging would become the phrase used to describe the death of a female character so that a male character's arc would move forward. Enter Hide and Seek. Yvette Picard's struggles with her mental health were explored in Star Trek Picard's second season, with both this episode and Monsters revealing that Jean-Luc's memories of his mother weren't entirely accurate. The younger Jean-Luc allowed his mother to leave a locked room, after which she proceeded to the solarium and hanged herself. This knowledge retroactively affects how audiences view Captain, later Admiral, Picard. Every appearance of the character from Encounter at Farpoint through to The Last Generation now exists in this context. Early episodes of The Next Generation depicted Yvette as an old lady inviting her son to tea, which we now know to be a fantasy. The controversy arises in how Yvette's mental state is both shown and used to frame Jean-Luc's. She is less a character than a trope, with the shocking revelation of her suicide falling firmly into the Phrygian camp. Though the idea that Picard lost a parent to suicide is stark, it feels lacking in its execution. Number 6. Patterns of Force. Patterns of Force was banned for 2 decades in Germany owing to the liberal use of Nazi imagery and iconography in the episode. The Third Reich is described as the most efficient society to have ever existed, which also contributed to the ban. In typical original series style, the episode is as subtle as a brick to the face, with Kirk, Spock and McCoy donning the SS uniforms. The episode was banned from being broadcast by German television stations such as the public ZDF network and the private Sat1 network as well. The episode wouldn't be broadcast publicly in the country until 2011, 43 years after the episode was released, though a dubbed version was shown on the German pay TV in 1996. German law states that Nazi imagery and costumes can only be depicted in certain educational and artistic contexts, a law that is still in force as of the writing of this article. Star Trek does fall under this artistic context, though even this definition has led to major discussions between artists and German authorities. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy both had Jewish backgrounds, and when a photographer was invited to set, Nimoy flat refused to have any promotional images of him in Nazi garb taken. Number 5. The High Ground. To fully appreciate the controversy stirred by the High Ground, one has to consider the political landscape of the UK and Ireland at the time of the episode's production. The Troubles, by which we mean the decades-long violence that rocked Northern Ireland, were very much ongoing, as Data was stating that armed rebellion was effected in reunifying Ireland in 2024. The episode received an instant ban in both the UK and Ireland, and to date it has only ever been broadcast uncut once on the island of Ireland as part of the 2007 Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. The episode was otherwise edited to remove the reference to reunification even when it was aired. In 1998, the Good Friday Agreement signalled an end to armed violence in the North, even as the scars of sectarian violence are still healing 25 years later. The original script idea was focused on the American Revolution, but writer Melinda Snodgrass was directed to change the plot to reference Northern Ireland instead. Almost none of the writing team were happy with the episode, with Michael Piller and Brannon Braga commenting that the episode doesn't truly achieve or state anything when it comes to terrorism. Number 4. The Enemy Within. This Richard Matheson penned script arrives early enough in the original series' run, giving us both the cutest little alien dog ever and the Vulcan nerve pinch as well. It also gives us one of the worst scenes involving Spock in the entire franchise, as well as an extremely questionable approach to dealing with sexual assault. In her autobiography, Janice Rand actress Grace Lee Whitney recalled that the episode was a minefield of trauma. She recalled William Shatner slapping her across the face to encourage her to get into the distressed state of mind that the scene called for. She also felt that the final lines delivered by Spock were among the cruelest that he had ever uttered. For this, she placed the blame at Matheson's feet. Spock comments that there were many interesting things about the evil double of Kirk. As Whitney put it, what crueler thing could be said to a victim of assault about the perpetrator? Whitney posited that there was an assumption among some males in the world that women really do want to be raped. Therefore, these closing lines would suggest that Spock was one of these men, which she felt was entirely out of character. The episode is often lauded as one of the strongest of the original series' debut year, despite this approach to discussing assault. Number 3. Up the Long Ladder. When one thinks of this episode, one generally thinks about the depiction of the Irish. Certainly, there's a lot to be said about the stereotypical fiddle-dee-dee imagery, but it was actually the uproar from pro-lifers that took writer Melinda Snodgrass by surprise. The Mariposa clones Riker and Pulaski against their will, although Riker then terminates said clones before they can mature. Riker then says that he did not consent to the procedure and has the right to control what happens with his own body. The pro-choice stance was obvious and had shades of the original series in how it was approached. The episode was originally about immigration. Snodgrass pitched the idea to executive producer Maurice Hurley, himself a staunch Irishman, that they use Irish tinkers as a stand-in for what was happening in America with immigration at the time. Hurley loved the idea. Many Irish viewers did not. While the intention was admirable, never judge a person based on the surface when in fact they can be vital to society, the execution felt more than a little off. Number 2. Tuvix. There's simply no list of controversial episodes of Star Trek that can't feature Tuvix. It is, in a way, one of Trek's most divisive stories, so much so in fact that Lower Decks has recently depicted an entire B-plot to its central dilemma. Tom Wright was given the unenviable task of portraying the doomed transporter creation, a task that he found truly challenging. For example, he stated that even though he received the script in full, he received far less direction than he would have liked as to how to play the character. Tuvix's pleas for life ignited a debate on Janeway's actions, something that director Cliff Bole was very aware would occur. He felt that Kate Mulgrew's final walk of the episode, directly toward the camera, was one of the strongest performances of her career, summing the pain and resilience of her decision on her face. The ethical implications of said decision are on full show when even the EMH refuses to carry out the procedure to split Tuvix. Whether one believes that Janeway made the right decision, or straight up murdered Tuvix, this episode was and remains one of the franchise's most controversial hours. Number 1, Code of Honor. And here we are, the big one, Code of Honor. The original script did not call for the Ligonians to be exclusively portrayed as people of colour, but it was allegedly at the behest of director Russ Mabry. Will Wheaton reviewed the episode for AOL in 2008, wherein he recalled Mabry allegedly getting the sack for his overtly racist behaviour toward the guest stars. While Wheaton can only offer a vague memory of this, the fact is that Les Landau would complete the direction after Mabry's dismissal. The allegations of racism on set, as well as the decision to portray the Ligonians as seen, have combined to give this episode the unofficial moniker of the racist episode. Certainly, Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner have made their opinions well known, with Frakes going so far as to say he wish it were deleted from Trek's history. If we were to find something positive to say about this episode, it would centre on the performances of Patrick Stewart and Jesse Lawrence Ferguson as Lutan. Much of the controversy focuses on the casting direction by Mabry, which, when combined with the feudal depiction of the Ligonians, is hard to defend. There simply aren't enough redeeming factors in Code of Honor to truly try and make the case for it being reappraised. Now, can we wash our hands of it, finally? That's everything for this list, folks. There are so many controversial episodes of Star Trek that of course there will be more lists like this in the future. Is there anything that you think that we should tackle? Let us know in the comments and let us know over on social media. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at TrekCulture or on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. You can catch myself at Sean Ferrick on Twitter as well. You look after yourselves until I'm talking to you again. Make sure that you live long and prosper. Make sure that you stay good to yourself, stay good to others, and just stay kind. You're wonderful. Thank you very much. Bye.